Hey, what's up, troop? Welcome to the very first Charlie Victor After Action Report. This will be our weekly series where we recap the past week, we'll reset, refocus, and we'll get ready for the week ahead. It's just a place where veterans or anybody can come. We'll just get our minds straight and just talk about the things that we have going on. Veterans don't fight alone. We didn't in combat, and we don't have to now. Before we get into today's show, I want to address something that keeps showing up across my feed lately. Veterans are often brought into political debates and national conversations, but rarely in ways that actually help us. We get talked about often, but supported a little bit less than that. We get held up as props. We get quoted as statistics, but almost never does any of that turn into meaningful action. And the truth is, some of the challenges that we face today are the result of national priorities that haven't always aligned with the needs of the people who served. It's wide out in the open. The records show that while billions move overseas to other countries or disappear into the Pentagon and the DoD black holes, the day-to-day issues impacting veterans, mental health access, housing, employment, reintegration, they don't always receive the same urgency. This isn't necessarily about assigning blame because there's plenty to go around. It's also about recognizing the gaps that we have so that we can all start to work together to close them. Veterans are losing their lives every single day. Many are struggling quietly, and while national conversation shifts from crisis to crisis in every other country but ours, those experiences rarely make it to the front page. So my message today is simple. Know your surroundings, do your homework, pay attention to what's happening in our communities and in our country as a whole. As veterans, we don't need to agree on every single issue, but we do need to stay connected. We need to stay informed, and we need to stay united in strengthening the nation that we defended. Because if we don't advocate for ourselves and for each other, our challenges risk becoming background noise. We owe it to the brothers and sisters that we served with to stand together, to stay grounded, and to continue lifting up the people around us. Now let's dive into this week's show. This week across Charlie Victor, we've been hitting on a few themes that seem to be sticking points for a lot of people. We talked about the mask that a lot of us veterans wear, our comfort zones versus our abilities and staying mission ready, even right now in civilian life. How many of you out there wear a mask every single day through life? The I'm fine, the I've got everything handled, the nothing's wrong face that a lot of us, have learned to hold on to like it's armor. Some of us are dying behind that mask. Some of us are tired of pretending as well. But, we keep the mask on because we think showing anything real is weakness. And it's not weakness, it's just the first step back into your own life. The steps that we take to get to who we want to be aren't going to be comfortable. Just because it's uncomfortable doesn't mean we can't do it. Most people never push themselves because they confuse discomfort with incapability. Just because something isn't what you're used to necessarily doesn't mean you're not capable of it. Most of the time, your comfort zone is just the cage. It's not the limit. Veterans know this better than anyone. You didn't survive deployments, endless field problems, and all the chaos that comes with the military because it was comfortable. You survived because you pushed through anyway. The same applies to life right now. We wear masks because it's easier than telling the truth, and we stay in our comfort zones because it feels safer than finding out what we're actually capable of. But both of these things, the mask and the comfort zone, they come with a cost. They keep us stagnant. They keep us disconnected, stuck in the same patterns week after week. Reality is most veterans aren't held back by lack of ability. We're held back by the fear of slowing down long enough to see what's really going on beneath the surface. That's why taking these steps matters. It isn't about fixing everything in one day. It's about breaking the cycle that keeps you numb, keeps you distant, and just keeps you going through the motions. Because that leads us straight into the real issue that we need to talk about this week, disconnection. The enemy that most veterans never see coming. It's one of the core issues that affects almost every single one of us that I've ran into, whether we admit it or not. Disconnection, we all know and often hear about the other things, the depression, the anger, the general lack of purpose. But the disconnection is the invisible enemy, the one that nobody really sees, but everybody feels. You can be sitting in a room full of people, your wife, your kids, your friends, and feel completely alone. Not because you don't care, but because your brain never learned how to come home and just relax. We were trained to fight. We were trained to detach. We were trained to handle stress and compartmentalize things that would break most people in half. And for a lot of us, that never turns off. The world around you says, just relax, calm down. But your nervous system still thinks you're solely responsible for every single thing and everyone going on around you. Your mind is still very much on overwatch. So you disconnect, you shut down, and you pull back into that place inside your head where things make sense because it's simple and controlled. But that disconnection has consequences. It destroys relationships quietly, slowly. It makes families feel like they're living with a ghost. It makes you feel like you're watching your own life from the outside. And worst of all, disconnection leads to isolation. Isolations leads to spirals, and the spirals lead to dark places. That's what I hope for Charlie Victor to fix, to rebuild those good habits, that mindset, rebuild the community and the safety nets that us veterans need. Not to fix you, not to lecture you, but just to reconnect you with yourself, with your purpose, and with the people in your life who still need you. The biggest takeaway from this week is awareness before action. Most veterans default straight to action. If something's wrong, we don't sit with it, we solve it. But you can't fix what you never slow down long enough to actually see. Awareness is the first step to everything. Awareness stops you from snapping at your family. Awareness stops you from spiraling inward when the outside pressure gets to be too much. Awareness catches you before you start to shut down. Awareness can bring you back to the present, to reality, to right now. Awareness breaks that disconnection that's starting to grow. Nobody taught us this in the military. We reacted. Thinking too long got you or somebody else hurt. Nobody taught us to stop this when we came home. And awareness isn't being soft. Awareness is just good strategy. It's the key to survival. Before you rebuild your life, before you fix your routines, before you set any goals, before you try to overhaul everything all at once, you need to just learn to see where you actually are. That's the foundation for everything that we're trying to build. Just start with the first small step. And if things get to be too much, take a tactical pause. Take 60 seconds, stop whatever you're doing, inhale for 4 seconds, then exhale for 4 more seconds. Just take a quick personal assessment. What emotions are you feeling? Ask yourself what is actually happening right now in this moment. That one tiny pause can save an entire day. You need to just learn to take a few seconds and think about the moment that you're in before you decide on your reaction. You'll be surprised how often you might decide to change course. Before we wrap up, I'm sure almost all of you know about 22 a day. It's a number most people know about, but the part many don't understand is how we are there. The odds of that number being someone you know or yourself go up every single day that you isolate yourself. The data shows that veteran suicide is highest among those who are disconnected and not plugged into any support networks whatsoever. That means that we have a connection problem. That means that we have an entire community issue and that we need to stay focused on fixing. Here's what you can do this week. Reach out to someone that you served with, just one person. Just say, hey. If you've noticed a friend that's been quiet lately, just check in. A text message takes 5 seconds to type out and send it. It doesn't require anything big or grand, just to connect. Nobody's coming to save us. It's up to us to build our own safety nets. It only takes one small step to start that. All right, here's what's happening inside Charlie Victor. This is part of the Grounded Vision Foundation, our community nonprofit based here in Lynchburg, Virginia. We are starting an in-person veteran outreach very soon, starting under the new co-director, Mary Blevins. So if you're in the area, if you're in Lynchburg and you want to connect to us, reach out at Charlie Victor at groundedvisionfoundation.org. From now on, we're going to have our Friday fireside and our Sunday AARs weekly. And we're also going to have daily content on most social media platforms. So if you're a vet, please like, share, follow. We have TikTok and YouTube, Charlie Victor Vet. Lots of vet-related content, motivation, VA tips and help. This week we went over 3 things to ask your VSO before you file your disability claim, so be sure to go check that out. We're building this community from the ground up together. So let's get ready for the week ahead. Let's stay focused. Let's stay on point. Here's your mission objective for the week. Catch one moment where you disconnect. Just notice it. Don't fight it. Don't try to fix it. Don't judge yourself for it. Awareness before action. That's where it all starts. Veterans don't fight alone. I'm Michael Bennett, and this was our first After Action Report. Stay safe this week. We've got your 6.